watching Real Simple News with Cale McCullough on Wednesday, August 19th, 2020. And today's top story, ex-FBI deep state attorney Kevin Clinesmith pleads guilty to falsifying documents in the Carter Page investigation that was started the Trump-Russia probe. And black looter mob tortures the Multnomah Building in Portland, Oregon, and businesses downtown flee. Real Simple News is an open source news organization. You can find us on GitHub at github.com/Real Simple News. But if you don't know GitHub very well, it's going to be a lot easier for you to find it by going to realsimplenews.net/issue 82, where you can find a link to the GitHub issue ticket. As well, you can make a donation to help fund our open source technologies. One of them is WikiSpy, a tool to monitor Wikipedia for tampering by hostile powers and political bias. So you can make a donation via the donate button here. We are currently launching a new show, Real Simple News with Science, and we had our first episode last night. So if you want to hear about my black hole physics theory called the theory of thermal relativity, you should really check out this star traveling at 8% of light speed yields clues into interstellar travel. I actually busted out my document camera, and it was fairly interesting. In our next article from the New York Post, ex-FBI lawyer Kevin Clinesmith pleads guilty to falsifying documents in Russia probe. The former FBI lawyer pleaded guilty on Wednesday to falsifying documents used to monitor 2016 candidate aide Carter Page during a hearing in federal court in Washington. At the time, I believed the information that I was providing in the emails was accurate, but I'm agreeing to the language that it entered into the email was not originally there, and that I inserted it there, Clinesmith said. District Judge James Boasberg said asked Clinesmith if he, quote, intentionally altered the email, and quote, yes, Your Honor, and quote, Clinesmith said. It's the first guilty plea for the deep state. Everybody keeps, people are up in arms right now because of Donald Trump endorsing the QAnon people, and people are thinking that these QAnon people believe that these people are eating babies, and there's this weird Bohemian Grove cult thing going on. That's not what's going on at all with this QAnon thing. In Washington, D.C., it's very common for politicians and powerful people to use hooker networks. So there's actually a lot of hooker networks in Washington, D.C. And statistically, where there's an 18-year-old hooker, you're likely to find a 16-year-old hooker. And where there's a 16-year-old hooker, you're likely to find a 15-year-old hooker, and so on down the line into pedophilia. So Jeffrey Epstein has been in the news a lot because he had a hooker network that was part of a modeling agency. There's a lot of misinformation that surrounds it, but the basis of the theory that there is a deep state that is engaging in sex trafficking as a John, and then they are being blackmailed by, for instance, Russian spies. The Steele dossier contained allegations that Donald Trump had sex with hookers, and there was a golden showers incident. And Michael Cohen wrote a book saying that this was true. I don't believe it in any way, shape, or form, because Donald Trump is a family man. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do drugs. And it's the FBI thought it was disinformation because they thought that Christopher Steele was a known asset, and they just gave him bad information. Michael Cohen is in jail for lying, so he doesn't have a good track record. If it's in between the President of the United States and Michael Cohen definitely seems to have been the one that's lying. He seems to have a pattern of lying. So it definitely, he would be the one that we would suspect here, because the idea of Donald Trump doing golden showers with hookers, I mean, isn't a far stretch out of the imagination, but it seems it doesn't fit his character, and they would like you to think that that's what his character is when he's running for office, because people never said that Donald Trump was racist until after he started running for office. Then he started getting attacked by people. So there's, just given by the Steele dossier, that one document alone shows us that we have reason to suspect that Russian spies might actually use a hooker network like Epstein's in order to get compromat on people like Bill Clinton. And we have some pictures here to show you of Bill Clinton getting a back massage from one of Epstein's victims. I'm calling to question this victim narrative. I'm going to call them sluts who are having sex with rich dudes for money, as opposed to someone who has been sex trafficked by a pimp. There's a difference. The pimp is trying to make money. The woman who's having sex with the rich guy is a slut, which is different. And they want hooker payoff money. I'm divulging, but here, let's keep on going in here. Clinesmith allegedly falsifying a document used by the FBI to obtain a FISA warrant to surveil Page. Clinesmith sent his supervisor an email from the CIA that said Page was not a source, but the CIA has told investigators that Page was an operational contact, had been between 2008 and 2013, and had supplied them with information about his contacts with Russian officials. President Trump has ripped the Obama administration for spying on his 2016 campaign and said the FBI's investigation into Russian collusion was a political hit job intended to discredit the White House victory. Clinesmith has scheduled to be sentenced on September 10th. He faces 6 months in prison. So people just don't understand who are the deep state. Once you understand who the deep state are, where they are, how they operate, then it doesn't seem so suspicious after all. The deep state are people, most of the federal government employees work around Washington, D.C. And in Washington, D.C., working for the federal government is a staple job, similar to how working at the mill or the factory used to be a staple job of communities back before the Democrats outsourced all of our jobs. So the people who live there in Washington, D.C., they have an in-group of people. They have families that have multiple generations who work in Washington, D.C. And many, if not most of these people are anti-racist. They are forced to be so because of their job. They have to hire minorities because they work for the federal government. And this causes them to have an institutionalized anti-racism that uses what is called the doctrine of diversity, which is dogmatic blind devotion to diversity, where you're trying to basically replace the white males because they oppress the African Americans, the Women, and the Kleenex, or the Latinx, or Latinx, or I don't know. They said the white savior said that the Latinos can't be called Latinos anymore because that offends the white woman, because that's sexist. So Spanish has been canceled. There is no more law or los. Everything is X, thanks to the Democrats. So the deep state is, we can pinpoint exactly who these deep state people are because we have their voting records. So we know that these people typically vote for Democrats. We know that Virginia is a very conservative state traditionally. So if these people are voting for Democrats and they're living in Virginia, chances are they're not from Virginia, because I grew up in Virginia. It was always a red state until the mass immigration brought a whole bunch of Latinos. And that, well, Charlottesville, Virginia, where I lived, was always kind of really liberal, pretty hippie like Eugene. But then out in the country, it's absolutely not like that at all. Like, not at all. But so deep state people, you can just go look it up on Google. Just look up Washington, D.C. and hookers, and there'll be all kinds of police reports that pop up in the news. There will be, given by the sheer amount of people that work for the federal government and that hire hookers in Washington, D.C., the number of people is very large. So X percentage of these people have been blackmailed for their use of prostitutes as well as other drugs in these circles, and possibly also too being videotaped having sex with minors. So a lot of people think that, you know, this is like some whack job, crazy conspiracy because of like that Pizzagate thing. But the reality of the situation is that there's good reasons to think that Bill Clinton might be involved in this. So let's take a look at those reasons. Oops, sorry. In this next article from the Daily Mail, would you, quote, would you mind giving me a crack, question mark, and quote, Bill Clinton leans back and smiles while receiving a neck massage from Epstein victim 22 in never before seen photos during the trip on pedophiles plane in Africa in 2002. And so just to give this a little bit of context, this is a British newspaper that is notorious for publishing fake news. I don't put the sources up here because they're legit. I put them up here because they're fake news. That's why this is real simple news. So in Britain, prostitution is legal. It's not legal with those under age 18. So when they're saying that Jeffrey Epstein, or that Bill Clinton, that this is a victim of sex trafficking, you have to keep in mind, in this country, that is not illegal. And what these women were doing is, here, let's look at the pictures. Here's the picture of the absolutely gorgeous woman that I, too, would also pay to rub my back and have sex with me. In fact, if you know any women who are actually that attractive, that would actually rub my back and have sex with me, then you should comment on issue ticket 82 at realsimplenews.net/issue 82. So as you can see, men have penises, and when I go to a party, I live in Eugene, I used to throw huge raves. Typically there's a bunch of half-naked chicks doing all kinds of drugs like ecstasy and cocaine, drinking mad booze, smoking a hell of weed. And when we're there, like chicks with big titties just got the titties flopping out, dude. Chicks are like, man, turking it up. Bam, bam. You got people just like up on the couch, bro. You got people in the back just getting freaky, dude. There's some chick with like painted up nipples on the dance floor, just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like people get freaky, dude. Like people have drugged out weird sex parties. Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't know that people actually have sex because your penis fell off or you're too fat to have your husband be attracted to you anymore. But here in the real world, where men have penises and women have vaginas, dudes give money to women to take their clothes off at the strip club. In the back, the chick's actually like basically having sex with the dude, making him come in the strip club. So, I've known a lot of strippers in my life. I've known a lot of hookers. All these girls are fucking freaks, dude. They'll let you fuck them in the ass and they'll suck your dick, dude. For real. Not even joking, dude. They'll suck the shit off of your dick after you fuck them in the ass, dude. So these are the victims. And the reason why is because they want that hooker payoff money. Because if you were a hooker and everybody knew that you were giving old dudes hand jobs and massages for money because you couldn't work for your money, you didn't want to. You're like, oh, no, I'm going to blame Epstein. It's him because he had money. And I was trying to be a model. And then I was being a slut. All the girls were like doing drugs and we were fucking everybody, having orgies. And I'm a victim because I didn't go to school and I wasn't spending my time in school. Instead, I was giving creepy old dude massages and then jerking them off. Like, all right. Okay, I see what happened. So Epstein had a modeling agency and he had a mob of hookers. There was a bazillion girls. They were wicked hot. Most of them were over the age of 18. And then occasionally they would have sex with a teenager, but they had sex with thousands of women. Like 0.1% of the women were under age 18. You would probably expect that to happen from the vast majority of people. But you know, it's all fake news. They're trying to make money selling you subscriptions and they want you to watch the ads, buy the product, like the post and vote for them. That's what they're trying to do. I mean, it's really in the reality of the situation is that we're swimming in fake news. Absolutely swimming in fake news. This next article from Newsweek, Colbert mocks Bill Clinton for criticizing Trump's behavior in the White House. The late night show host Stephen Colbert mocked Bill Clinton on Tuesday night after the former commander-in-chief criticized Donald Trump's behavior in the Oval Office. In a nod to the scandal over Clinton's affair in the White House with intern Monica Lewinsky, which I'm glad that he did. If I were the president, I would be banging chicks on the office in the Oval Office. And in fact, this is my platform for when I run in 2024 for president of the United States. We're going to build the moat. We're going to build a huge moat across the southern border between the United States and Mexico. We're going to fill it up with sharks with laser beams on their heads, snakes, alligators, piranhas, eels, and then we're going to put lions, tigers, bears, hippos, walruses, and we're going to have a petting zoo. And so this is absolutely not racist at all, because first off, the only people who would think Mexicans are a race of people would be Nazis, because Jews were white people. They were an ethnicity, not a race. So only Nazis think that a country is a race. But it's going to be a place where people on both sides of the border can come and you can go to the petting zoo. And it's like a tourist attraction. It's the moat. And then we're going to build a wall up the eastern border of the United States to keep those filthy, stinking European immigrants out from stealing our jobs. And then I'm going to bang hookers on the Oval Office desk. So you should vote for Cale McCullough in 2024. Colbert said that he didn't think the former president should lecture anyone on what should happen in the Oval Office. The comedian rebuked Clinton shortly after the ex-commander-in-chief lashed out at Trump and backed Biden during the speech on the second day of the Democratic National Convention, which I haven't watched the whole thing, but I hear they didn't bring up the rioting. I haven't looked at, I forgot to look into that for the show. But I do believe that they did not mention the rioting at all. They were a little pathetic cowards. They just want to blame the racist Republicans who are holding down the African Americans and the Whammon and the Kleenex in the Democratic-run shithole big cities. And so somehow it's the people out in the rural red states that are the poorer states that are holding down these people in the big city. Quote, Donald Trump says we're leading the world. Well, we are the only major industrial country to have its unemployment rate triple, end quote, Clinton said. Quote, at a time like this, the Oval Office should be a command center instead of a storm center. It's only chaos. Where did these unemployment rates triple at? In Republican cities? No, they tripled in Democratic-run shitholes. And then they blame the Republicans. This is how they operate. They've been operating like this for a long time, man. He also condemned the president for, quote, spending hours a day watching TV, end quote, and, quote, zapping people on social media, end quote, amid the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. I would criticize Bill Clinton for being totally lame on social media. I don't know what the hell he does, but I've never really heard too much interesting of what he does outside of the Clinton Foundation. Responding to the speech on the late night show last night, Colbert said, all right, that's true. It's a good point, but I don't think Bill Clinton gets to lecture anyone on what should happen in the Oval Office. Those in glass houses should not be allowed near the interns. I'm going to push him back on that one. I do think that me, myself, as a male, I have also been fired in the workplace for a lot of stupid reasons. So if you got fired in the workplace because you had sex with someone, cry me a river. Nobody even had sex with me. So I personally think that they should have that nobody should be telling anybody else how they should interact with sexuality. I think that there's lines that you cross that are legal lines, employment, whether or not you're intimidating somebody. But outside of that, the only people who really are making a scene about this are some like nasty, crabby old chick that nobody would even want to stick a broomstick in their pussy. And some old dude who's too fat that nobody wants to fuck them. Or people who just are not very attractive, because everybody who is attractive just wants to fuck all of the other attractive people, and they really just don't give a fuck. And there's a lot of women, plenty of women, such as Kamala Harris, who would like to sleep their way up to the top. And I personally am not going to stand in the way of Kamala Harris sleeping her way up to the top. In fact, I encourage this. In fact, I encourage you to be an ethical slut. I think that that's excellent. I just think that feminism is bad because it makes people women put off having a family until their 30s, and then it kills off their family line, which is a nightmare scenario. But if a man puts off having a wife until his 30s because he's working, then he'll probably have a wife and a family because he can afford to have a house where they come to, and he can afford all of the bills. And women don't really want to date socialist people. Okay, so we had enough of this one. Oops. Sorry. This one's got a lot of them on there. Here, I'll try to get through it as fast as possible here. This next article from the Daily Mail, yet another riot has been declared in Portland, Oregon on the 83rd night of trouble. A 200-strong mob of black looter mobs rally for Black Lives Matter and total abolition of the prison system and police force, and they torched the famous Multnomah Building. They smashed windows and sparked a blaze, pushing lit newspapers through the windows. Portland police declared the riot around the 83rd consecutive day of protest in the city. The demonstrators said to have remained peaceful, but for more than an hour. But protesters start to set fires to dumpsters and broke windows. And after about an hour, small fires could be seen inside the building. People were seen throwing stones through the windows and setting the office ablaze, throwing flaming materials in there. 2 people were arrested. They were also reported for stabbing and shooting the city overnight. Here are the pictures. Here's a video. More fires. For those of you who aren't aware, I was one of the people who actually helped start the 2016 Portland anti-Trump protest back when I was a brainwashed, radicalized feminist. And at that point in time, I had no idea that the news was fake, and I had Trump derangement syndrome. And I just want to say that I don't support anything that these people do anymore. Now that I've learned the truth that feminism is actually just horseshit nonsense, that it ends up killing off your family line and causes women to be incredibly unhappy when they can't find partners. Here's a video of the black leader mob, 200 of them, marching up Hawthorne and Grand, chanting "No cops, no prisons, total abolition." Cops moving in. Thank
Officers are taking lawful action. Stay on the sidewalk.
Correction. Fascists are not police. Look up fascism, where it came from, what they stood for, and you will find that it came from the women's suffrage movement. They were trying to push for a minimum wage. They were also trying to bring a socialist utopia. They were anti-capitalist. They thought capitalism was evil because it oppressed the women and the minorities. Germans never owned slaves. They weren't racist. They weren't white supremacists. They were actually the opposite of that. So when you call a cop fascist, You need to know about Night of the Broken Glass. Night of the Broken Glass was the riots that when the Nazis took power, and the Nazis were Nazis because they didn't enforce the law. They didn't stop the rioters. It's actually the opposite of what they're saying.
Good job, 37!
Here, police fire smoke bombs at the Portland protest.
Don't touch it!
Here's a tweet from the Portland police. It says, shooting investigation underway in Lentz neighborhood. This was from August 19th. So that was the day of this show, but it's the 20th now because technical issues again. I think I'm almost through the technical issues. I think I could start putting out more shows now. I'm trying to automate everything. If you make donations to this show, you're actually going to be funding open source technology that's going to allow you to make viral videos. I've got it figured out how we can automate this for you so that you can also do exactly what I'm doing using an AI algorithm. So you don't have to do hours to set up the show. It's actually really easy what I'm going to do. Here's in this next video, hold on. Wrong one. I think I was going to use that one. Oops. This next article from the New York Post, Portland businesses fleeing downtown offices over nightly BLM riots. Large companies are fleeing offices in downtown Portland because of nightly Black Looter Mob riots. They're making the heart of Oregon City a no-go area, according to the report. Businesses are leaving. Andrew Hohen, president and CEO of Portland Business Alliance, PBA, told Cato, and if you're listening, I'm down here in Eugene, and if you are, in fact, looking for a place to set up, just come on right down here to Eugene, man. We got a epicenter of engineering going on down here out past Walmart. So there is actually industry here. They have been making COVID test kits, and I forget what else they do. They have like they make like wireless systems for ambulances and cop cars out there, and bunch of good stuff down in Eugene. I'm also a computer engineer too, and I also do really cool groundbreaking technologies. Quote, the financial consequences to the downtown corridor are having a running calculation that's almost impossible to wrap your mind around. End quote, he said, with one company already saying the riots have cost $20 million in damages to his business. This is my state. These are, I also too had a hand in starting this, and I feel horrible. That's also too why I am running this show. It's because since I helped start this, I'm going to help put an end to it. I do. My voice is very loud in Eugene, And a lot of people say Eugene has been some of the biggest radicals there. So if you're looking for a place to shut down, like we need people to come down to Eugene and shut the wing nets down here, I would definitely like to organize some protest. If you want to help organize, I have a bunch of cameras. Quote, you have blocks and blocks of plywood. You have graffiti. You have accumulation of damages that are unrepaired. An ongoing perception that coming downtown is not a safe place. And quote, Hohen said, quote, we need to start to turn the corridor now so that this sort of irreparable damage does not last, end quote, business leader said. Portland has seen regular violence and destruction for 83 consecutive nights. This is insanity. This is how insane white feminists get when they have the white savior complex, when they think that they are the white knight and they need to come in and save the damsel in distress, the women and the African Americans. So if you are a woman or a African American or a Kleenex, fear not. Dry your lib tears from your eye. You do not need to cry rivers of lib tears, because you can actually indeed walk away from the Democratic Party. You could just say, hey, look, I'm not a white savior. Black people don't need one. Peace. I'm out, man. And then you can come over here to the party that freed the slaves, that did not start the KKK, because the Democrats started the KKK. And you can, if you don't like their policies, then you can join them and you can change their policies. But as for the party of hate, it has historically been the Democratic Party. There's no question about that. They are white feminists because they owned slaves, then they started the KKK, then they opposed women's suffrage, and because of that, they lost horribly, and they made up for it by turning into white feminist, which is a racist form of feminism, where they focus on white women's issues above everyone else's, and women control 85% of consumer spending. They're holding almost 2/3 of the college degrees now, and they own almost 2/3 of America's wealth. So when they say they're underpaid, it's because they're getting advertisements from companies who want them to ask their boss for a raise so that they can put off having a child until their 30s and kill off their family line, so that we are forced to then replace them with Latinos, because that's the only way that that system could work. This is why the Democrats don't want to enforce immigration laws, is because they're a bunch of cucks. Hit it again. In this next article from the Police Tribune, motorist left unconscious in street after black looter mob dragged him from his car and beat him. A violent black looter mob chased down a motorist and dragged him from his vehicle Sunday night before being savagely beaten and kicking him in the head, leaving him unconscious and with a gaping wound. The attack occurred near the intersection of Southwest Taylor and Southwest Broadway, just blocks away from the Multnomah County Justice Center, which has been one of several epicenters of the ongoing monthly black looter mob riots that have plagued the downtown area for nearly 3 months. As we just went over, has also caused many millions of dollars of damages that they have not been accounting for because it's private people who have not all reported the numbers yet, the damage tolls. Police say that a black looter mob rally was taking place out front of the Justice Center shortly after the assault occurred. According to journalist Drew Hernandez, members of the group began to harass and physically assault the motorists and women. After the assault, the motorist tried to defend someone else who the group had allegedly robbed. Video footage showed the motorist female companion being tackled to the ground at one point during the confrontation. Here's a tweet from Drew Hernandez at Lives Matter show. Shows you the incident. This is not from the beginning.
Chill the fuck out!
And then you really won't be able to get out of this game.
Stop! Yo, what are you doing?
You didn't do nothing.
Go get that license.
You didn't do nothing, bro. Back up, bitch.
Walk away. Walk away.
Stop! I'm gonna hit you with the car. Get the fuck out of here. Get
You on drugs?
Back up! Back up! Back up!
Yeah. Here's the looking for the one with the fireworks. Yeah, and shoot.
Fucking try and run people over! Fuck you, bitch! Fucking white trash! Fuck out of here!
So they skipped the.
Don't mean you got skill and shit.
Okay, here. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Sorry. Not sure how this happened.
He wrecked his car. And he got
Anybody knows how this happened? Comment
He
on
was saving you, okay?
realsimplenews.net/issue82.
I don't let him go through his crime. That's all he has.
Get out of here, bitch! Sit down!
We ain't gonna rob these people. Come on. Just gotta make sure we ain't got no weapons on here. There's nothing that bad.
Just like word to the wise, when you're surrounded by a black looter mob, you should always suspect that one of them's going to come up and just shank you in the back, bro, or like pull out a gun and just bam. Never turn your back to a black looter mob, bro.
You're okay. It's lost, my nigga. It's lost. Trying to rip people over. Everybody I'm not here for a reason, nigga. I'm black, nigga. That's what I'm out here for. Yeah, nigga. I'm an older guy. I'm this guy. Hey guys, probably need people
Okay, I'm sorry. They cut the videos, dude. I'm not very happy about that video.
Is this airway arm? Try to find something in my car, see if you can get a Here, call me. What do you want me to process? Can you find something to prop his head, please?
It appears to be the scene.
Chill. Fuck is you talking about, nigga? Bitch! Fuck is you talking about? Go to sleep, Pop. Go to sleep.
Man, this is absolute crap. Oops, wrong one, I guess. Here it is, fine. Good.
You fucking loser! Fucking trying to run people over! Fuck!
The dude who kicked him in the head's definitely the loser.
Get him out of the street! Get him out of the fucking street!
That nigga's dead, dog.
So the reason why the civil rights movement worked in the first place is because the African Americans weren't violent. In fact, they let the KKK and the white supremacists parade around, and then everybody saw how hateful and mean they were, and they sided with the African Americans. So you should take this as a lesson from history. This is a repeating element of human nature that's not going to be going away. There's another video of a young man. He did survive. He had some, probably going to have some brain damage from that.
He wrecked his car, and he got beat up because he's trying to run people over when he was saving you, okay?
I don't let him go through this crime. That's all he has.
Get out of here, bitch! Get out of here, bitch! Get out, fucking loser!
Hey, come on, we ain't gonna rob these people, man. Come on.
Just want to make sure we ain't got no weapons right here.
There's a knife in that bag.
You have a gun.
No.
Call 911, please.
Shut up! You were right there. We all saw it.
I need someone to call 911, please. He's freezing.
This next tweet from Drew Hernandez at Lives Matter Show. Earlier it appears black looter mobs in Portland is getting restless and cranky now due to their tiny low energy turnouts at their protests now downtown. They're just running around claiming they have everything and harassing and threatening people. Oh, shoot. Sorry. If you make donations to the show, it will actually pay to get us better equipment so this stuff won't happen. Do that at realsimplenews.net/issue82. And
My shit, bro. Nigga, you in my shit, bro. You in my shit. Catch a case, nigga. I'll beat your ass in your mama ass. Where the fuck this bitch is, bro? The fuck off my shit, nigga. Nigga, you get the fuck off my shit too, bro.
Sadly, there has been a mental disorder that has been unleashed on the general public. I personally think that TikTok has been brainwashing them. I am a computer scientist, and I make social networks and artificial intelligence technology that to assist people with disabilities such as PTSD and people with memory loss. And so I know how to implant reflex agents into people using various, like, it's the same way that you tell a story. Like if you're going to get together a bunch of videos to make a, for instance, a Hollywood video or a fake conspiracy theory, all you have to do is just show people little bits of news clips, have them interact with certain friends' posts that have messages that are supportive of your cause, and also have ones that will come in to argue with you, that will force you to argue with them. So you can manipulate the order of the videos that they see in order to make them happy, sad, angry, curious, depressed, lonely, isolated. And then when you do this, you can then start to control what they think by causing some certain types of videos to rise to the top of the rankings while you suppress messages in opposition. And then this gives an appearance as a artificially increased support for the cause that you're trying to push. And it is very easy to brainwash and manipulate someone when you have control over the algorithm that causes the videos that they see to appear. This is obviously something that is dangerous to have that for children, especially given that about a third of TikTok's users are under the age of 14, in which case they're covered under the COPPA ruling, and they are not allowed to share any sort of information without the children's parents' consent. But they've just been doing it anyways. Their business model is they'd rather take a fine for it. So I do believe that this radicalization is actually the result of a cyber weapon that we got hit from the Chinese.
I just get like, nigga, yeah, think about it again, bro. Quit following me, I'ma punch your shit, nigga. Bro, quit fucking following me with
I'm
shit,
just
bro.
filming.
Alright, then go fuck over there with it, bro. Quit fucking following me with it. Bro, I beat you, nigga. I'ma beat your ass, bro.
Get away from me. I'm just filming.
Stay away from that.
Y'all gonna tolerate that? Come on.
Block me and shit, bro. The fuck off my shit, bro.
You just assaulted him.
I'm gonna stay up for my people.
My shit, bro. Nigga, you in my shit, bro. You in my shit. Catch a case.
These people are lunatics, man. They're like high on some sort of like aggression. All trying to prove, I'm the bigger man than you, the bigger man. Here's an example of one of the lunatic lefties. Here, what they think.
What you have to do is make the capitalist care about what you're doing, and how you make them do that is by fucking with their shit. So that's my perspective on that. But aside from that, relatively speaking, there hasn't been much damage. There's been some spray paint. Occasionally there's a broken window, but that doesn't even happen that often. Like, when you...
Yeah, because the only damages in the entire world are the ones that you can see when you walk downtown. Like, there's no, like, damage from the lack of traffic from the people who are avoiding downtown. Right.
You come right down to it. About the only thing that happens is some spray paint and some people yelling and dancing and listening to music. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, that's what's happening so far. If we're being honest here with ourselves. Let me adjust the camera here.
As tactic. What you have to do is make the capitalist care about what you're doing and how you...
So, Nazis were anti-capitalist. Nazis hated capitalists. Antifa started as an anti-capitalist organization. They battled with the fascists because it was a competing ideology, and but eventually they all voted for Hitler. Remember, Hitler won in a landslide. So to say that the communists didn't support Hitler, this isn't historically accurate. Actually, the communists supported Hitler, and they worked with Stalin to Stalin was going to share control of Europe with Hitler, but they took over rural Russia or France, and then Hitler started running out of food and gas, and then he invaded the Balkan oil fields to take the oil there. And there's many speculations as to why he actually did this, because there's a lot of history that was uncovered after 2000 with the Gilschwitz incident that